Hello, Pastor Dale here with Kalamo Church, and I am here today giving you another message from the book of Ruth. This one is 4 signs that you might have a keeper. Now, with the book of Ruth, it's going to be impossible to get away from talking about love and marriage, and I know a lot of you are probably already with the one that you plan to spend forever with. But for those of you who aren't, or for those of you who are maybe looking for the reason to say, yeah, this is my forever person, that's what we're talking about today, dating and marriage. And I know, like, for me personally, as a single person, this one hits home. Let's start with dating. It's really awkward. It's almost like a job interview, except I've done enough job interviews to this point where it's not nearly as stressful as a date, especially a first date. Like, what do I wear? Do I dress up? But I don't want to be too dressy. I don't want to be too showy. But I don't also want to just show up in a pair of shorts and a shirt that says the vibes are good and the coffee is iced. But also, what do I talk about? Like, do I mention my hobbies? Maybe my hobbies aren't going to be a good topic of interest. How do I end the date? How do I like? How do I know? Like, do I walk them back to their car? Uh, do I try to go for a hug or maybe a kiss if I think it went really well? What do I do? And it's stressful for a lot of you, and for a lot of people I talk to. They go the dating. Oh, it's always been awkward back in my day, but like, dating has changed a lot in the 21st century, and I know, like, that's a lot of things have changed, but it's not as always as simple as, oh, well, I met this person and now we're together forever. There's a lot of complexity to it. One of the things that adds to that complexity is the idea and the form of dating that is online dating. Um, and it can be really helpful for a lot of people. Many people meet and even marry this way. On the downside, I've often felt at times it almost turns people into a commodity. You're just given this image or images of a person, a couple things they like, and you're either swiping left or swiping right, saying, uh, yes, this is the person I'm looking for. No, it's like I'm shopping for the right type of person. Like, I'm looking for someone who's attractive and funny and driven. Maybe they have a good job. Uh, I don't know uh, what your tastes are, but a lot of people, it's like, well, do I want them to be strong but also sensitive? How about handsome but humble? If I'm looking for a woman, that would be someone probably more looking for a man. If I'm looking for a woman, do I want someone who is, sweet but also, willing to stand up for herself? Um, do they go to the gym? Do they share with others? They've got to love dancing in the rain, and they've got to be willing to see my favorite movies. I want someone who wears socks with little faces. Like, there's a lot, and it's almost like commodifying a person. Before I've ever spoken to them, I have all of these details. So you might ask where we're going with all of this. Well, we're continuing to study the book of Ruth in the Old Testament. Now, remember, Ruth is a Moabite woman who left Moab for Bethlehem. She committed to the God of Israel. And this week, we're going to watch as Ruth, the widow, gets to know Boaz. And we're going to see principles to help you, no matter where you are, maybe either date wisely or strengthen your marriage. So enjoy this week, because it is going to be practical and helpful. Next week, we're going to get weird. I'm just going to give you the heads up now. So here's the principle. I would rather you, instead of just looking and trying to find what to get from someone, I want you to look and also ask yourself what you want to give to someone. Because here's the thing, when it comes to dating, when it comes to marriage, you don't just attract what you want, you tend to attract what you are. Now, remember where we were last week. We were in Ruth 2, and we're going to continue in Ruth 2. And we're going to see as Boaz gets to know Ruth, and we're going to look for the 4 signs that you might have a keeper. And what are those 4 signs, you might ask? Well, they are seeking character, they are exploring connection, they are showing consideration, and they are receiving confirmation. And we'll break these down one by one, but let's get into it. For the context, Boaz, again, is a man of standing. He loves God. He's been kind and generous to Ruth. We see in Ruth 2:10, at this she bowed down with her face to the ground. She asked him, why have I found such favor in your eyes that you notice me, a foreigner? Ruth was astounded that Boaz would even speak to her. Maybe Ruth didn't have the highest of self-esteem. I mean, she was a widow. She was just trying to get grain from his field. She had nothing. So she's like, why me? Ruth may have been attractive. Maybe that's what Boaz saw in her initially. We don't know. And I don't want to just assume that the only things are external. No, Boaz doesn't affirm what's on the outside of Ruth. He looks at what's most important, the inside. That is that first sign that you might have a keeper, is that they're seeking character. Ruth 2:11 reads, Boaz replied, I've been told all about what you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband, how you left your father and mother and your homeland and came to live with a people you did not know before. Boaz heard that she had left Moab for Bethlehem, that she pursued the one true God, and that she was loyal to her mother-in-law Naomi, loyal to God, despite all of the hardships in life. She didn't want to be a victim. She didn't want to just mope. She wanted to be a hard worker. She didn't want to compromise her value, and Boaz saw that in her. He noticed her character. And that is what a lot of people look for. That's what you should look for. If you're dating, if you are married, and maybe, you're like, well, my spouse, my partner, the person I'm looking for, the person I'm talking to, they're not the most aesthetically attractive, but look at their character. Who are they? What are their ideals? And ask yourself, are you a person of character? Do you have spiritual character? And you want to make sure that you are someone who is displaying that character. Do you want someone who just says the things that matter to them, or do you want someone who really, really shows them? Do you want someone who is going to inspire you to be better? Not that they're necessarily perfect, but they should they should be such a person of character that you want to be that. And if you're seeking character, when you meet someone, pay attention. Notice their friends. Notice the people they spend time with. Wonder how they treat their family, especially if their family treats them poorly. Are they someone who will be spiteful, or will they, take people treating them poorly and pay that back with kindness and forgiveness? How do they treat waiters and people in the service industry? Do they rip people apart for no reason? Do they have a heart to serve? Are they willing to help someone in their time of need? What is their work ethic? What is their work ethic like? Do they want to better themselves? It's if they're jerks to other people, if they have no quality friends, it's okay to be critical of them. If they push you to do things you don't want to do or you don't feel ready to do yet, that's not a good sign. That's not strong character. And when a person shows you who they really are, believe them. Believe what they show you, not just the words that they pay lip service to. Now, remember, you're trying to get out of Moab in your life. So remember, Boaz is a man of character. And Boaz noticed Ruth's character. And once you notice the characters together, you can begin to explore the connection. That's the second sign you have a keeper. Exploring connection. Um, Boaz, when he starts to get to know Ruth, doesn't just, go up to her and say, "Hey, come back to my place. We're going to become intimate." No, Boaz invites her on a lunch date to connect with her, to get to know her. Ruth 2:14 says, "At mealtime, Boaz said to her, 'Come over here, have some bread and dip it in the wine vinegar.' When she sat down with the harvesters, he offered her some roasted grain. She ate all she wanted and have some left over." Ruth doesn't move too fast. Maybe she wants to be his wife. Does she want a lot of kids? No, she wants to see where Boaz is going. Is he exploring a connection with her? And I encourage anyone, not just women in this case, men as well. You want someone who is going to take an interest in you, someone who will initiate those conversations, someone who will put in the effort, someone who will pursue you, not just for what you can give them, not just for your body or for your wealth, but for you. You want, and that again, this goes both ways. Guys, you don't need a woman in your life who just seems to blow you off until you can give her something. And ladies, if a guy is only paying attention because he thinks he's going to get something out of you, that's not someone you want. You want someone who's trying to build a real connection with you. So we've got that uh, a keeper is discovering characters and they're exploring connection. What's next? Well, the third sign you've got a keeper is that they're showing consideration. Ruth 2:15-16 says, "As she got up to glean, Boaz gave orders to his men, 'Let her gather among the sheaves and don't reprimand her. Even pull out some stalks for her from the bundles and leave them for her to pick up and don't rebuke her.'" Boaz, in doing this, is guarding her dignity. He is letting her work, which is what she wanted, not just giving her a handout. Um, Now, he did make it a little easier for her. He gave her extra. He went out of his way to do this. He was blessing her. But he wanted to respect her wishes to do the work herself. Ruth never asked to just be handed stuff. And Boaz recognized that. Again, he was discovering her character, exploring the connection. He was showing consideration for who she is and what she wanted. In Levitical law, someone is supposed to give to the poor what's left over. Um, and in this case, Boaz was not doing what the law requires. He was going above and beyond. He was blessing her with more. Ruth 2:17 says, "So Ruth gleaned in the field until evening. When she threshed the barley she had gathered, it amounted to about an ephah," which, um, if you're wondering, an ephah of barley would sell for about 2 weeks' wages. She had worked one day, but because of how Boaz had blessed her, she had earned about 2 weeks' wages. And he blessed her with more. He showed her consideration. Again, he didn't just hand her stuff and say, "Here, do with this what you will." He encouraged her. He saw what she wanted and blessed her in that, but did make it easier for her because that's what he wanted. And when you're dating, don't just settle. You don't want someone who doesn't meet expectations at all. Set a bar for yourself. If they fall below that bar, move on. Find someone better. And when you set expectations, look for someone who isn't just doing the bare minimum to meet them, but is doing whatever they can to exceed them. The consideration Boaz shows here as is above and beyond. It's you, and again, it goes both ways. Guys, if you want a Ruth, be a Boaz. Be someone who gives. Remember, you don't just attract what you want, you tend to attract what you are. Ladies, look for someone who values you, who is considerate, someone who puts some thought into a date. Maybe they clean up their car a little bit. They put thought into a gift. They ask questions. They value you. They make sure that you're okay at the end of the night, that they honor who you are. And show the same for them. A lot of guys, unfortunately, don't get that back in return, that they don't feel that same consideration. And again, love is a two-way street. You don't just attract what you want, you tend to attract what you are. If you're a considerate person, you will attract considerate people. So we've got character, we've got connection, we've got consideration. Last but not least, sign you're a keeper is that you're receiving confirmation. Now you're wondering, what does that work? Or how does that work? So Ruth takes home this FF, this 2 weeks worth of wages of grain, and shows Naomi. In Ruth 2:19, we see her mother-in-law asked her, "Where did you glean today? Where did you work? Blessed be the man who took notice of you." Naomi's like, I like this guy. I like whoever did this. They are a good and honorable man. Naomi, she loved Ruth. She prayed for Ruth to have a good husband, and this was confirming of that. It's always a good sign when those who love you the most like who you like. That's what I mean by confirmation. Um, you know, if all of your closest friends who you trust in the world see the person you're dating and are like, "Ooh, I don't know about them," take what they have to say. They might not know them as good, um, as they might not know them as much as you do, and there's a lot to that. You might say, "But I love him. There's so much potential." You don't know her like I do. But if your friends, your family, the people you trust don't like the person you're dating, you should probably listen to them. And if if your mom or your dad, if you're close to them, doesn't like them, if your brother and sister, if your best friends, if your dog doesn't like them, that should show you enough. You need to make sure that you are finding someone who, while they are good for you, they're also they might hide who they really are and show that around other people. So Ruth shows up sweaty, not looking her best. What does Boaz see? He sees her character. He seeks connection. He shows her consideration, and he receives confirmation. What if you're what if you're dating and you don't see these qualities? What if you're married and your relationship is not where it should be? Ruth told Naomi, "This man who blesses us, his name is Boaz." Naomi's like, "Boaz? I know him. The Lord bless him." So apply these things and you'll find out if this is the person you should be with. When Naomi hears about this in Ruth 2:20, she says, "He is one of our guardian redeemers." This is a metaphor. Guardian redeemer, a relative who protects, who pays for debts, who provides for family and loss. And legally, Boaz is not obligated in any of this. He's not Elimelech's brother. Ruth is not an Israelite. Boaz doesn't owe Ruth anything, and he chooses to give to her. You will know when things are wrong, and you will know when things are right. They will go above and beyond. Boaz didn't follow the law. He showed grace. He showed compassion. And that's what you should be looking for. In the same way that Jesus is our guardian redeemer, the person we're with should also fill that role somewhat in our lives. Someone who tries to meet our needs, who protects us, who takes what is broken and wants to make it better. When and if you're struggling, if you're done with dating, if you're married, if you're trying to heal from whatever, God is a redeeming God. Remember that no sin is too great for God's grace. No marriage is too broken for God's healing. No relationship is beyond God's redemption. Now, I do draw a couple lines. If you're in a position where abuse is any part of the question, you need to get out. You don't need to continue to be hurt just because you want to make a relationship work. No, you need to, and in that case, God will be there for you so you can heal, and God will help you find someone who won't treat you that way. Jesus is our guardian redeemer. He loves you, and he wants you to be with someone who loves you the same way. He wants you to be with someone who is seeking character, who is exploring connection, who is showing consideration, who is receiving confirmation. Let's pray. God, as we try to find the right person if we're dating, or as we explore our marriage and trying to make it stronger, let us be who you would have us be. Let us seek character in others and go for people who try to seek character in us. Let us explore connection with one another, with the people we are interested in, or with our spouses. Let us show consideration and look for people who are considerate to our needs as well. And let us look to others and look to you for confirmation that this person is a person we should be spending our time with. Lord, let us find those we should love, who you want us to love. And when we are married, if we are married, Lord, let us be with someone who continues to uphold this. Let us find our Boaz. Let us find our Ruth. Let us find the one we're supposed to find. And let us do this in Christ's name, who gave so much, who loves so much, who seeks us, who wants to connect with us. Lord, let us do this all in his name. Amen.